Well, welcome back to Prediction X. And today we have two experts on the ancient world here to chat with. And I think we'll start by letting them introduce themselves. And so maybe we'll start with Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma Dent. I'm Professor of the Classics and History here at Harvard.
Hi, I'm Piotr Steinkeller. I teach Assyriology and Ancient Mesopotamian History at Harvard.
Piotr is particularly an expert on things that have to do with sheep and ancient Mesopotamia. And so if you could, can you just describe pretty quickly what the systems that you're going to be telling us more about are like?
Yes, well, I'll be talking about divination or future prediction from the entrails of sacrificial animals, and that's something that was specialty in Babylonia. Actually, these practices probably were then carried to the classical world. And I should probably start with telling you something about theoretical background. I believe that the Mesopotamian divination, extisipi or haruskipi, as it's another word, was called.
Do those two words mean exactly the same thing, or are they different?
Exactly the same.
Okay.
As I understand, haruspici means seeing the extra.
Yes, that's
right. And baru in Akkadian means exactly the same, the one who sees, who can analyze the extra or entrails. So I would suggest that Mesopotamian divination had a very strong theoretical background, which explain how the foreknowledge of future can be obtained from the divine realm. And I think there are two essential points behind this theory. First, that the future or future days, as they described it, were born and incubated in the netherworld. The second point is that the sun god, who's sort of in charge of extispici, when he passes through the netherworld during a night, then he comes into contact with future days. Therefore, he knows what will happen the next day. And further, the theory said that, it is possible to inquire, to induce the sun god to share his foreknowledge of future with the humans.
The sun god gets a little bit more knowledge each night, presumably not of just the next day, but of the distant future.
Exactly,
Right?
yes.
Okay.
Well, it can be several days. They think of the future as a sort of infinite number of days, half days, which are born in the netherworld. Yes.
Okay.
So here perhaps you should introduce the diviner, who had to be specially trained, and he belonged to a small group of specialists. And he had the knowledge to analyze the extra. And the procedure he would perform involved a sacrifice of a sheep. First, he would need to present various offerings to the sun god, and perhaps other gods would be involved as well. And then he would present his query to the sun god, asking for a definitive answer to his query. And he would ask specifically the sun god to inscribe the message in the extra. And then he would sacrifice the sheep, and open it up, and then he would go over, perform an autopsy of the sheep. And you have a manual which describes exactly what he should do, how the order in which he should examine the sheep, and it should be done first for the right side and for the left side. And then he would add up all the negative against all the positive features, and based on that he would give a final verdict.
As you may know, the Roman Empire was extraordinarily multi-ethnic, multicultural, and it's quite interesting that Babylonian seers or fake Babylonian seers are they're part of the environment of the Roman Empire because they bring alien wisdom.
Mystery.
It's quite interesting. Okay. And similarly, again, just picking up on what Piotr was saying earlier, the Romans essentially used Etruscan, they call them haruspices, to do haruspicy, which is exactly this science. And once again, the whole point was that they were foreign, that the Etruscans, were thought of as, they were ethnically, culturally different. And so they're actually in the service of the Romans. So that was just quite a nice connecting point. I thought that these practices carry on quite substantially and have a different value, if you like, because they're sort of foreign.